Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now August 3rd of 2023, and given that there's a lot of things happening right now over at Disney between Bob Iger and the Disney board, there's always a constant shakeup going on there, and given that they're really trying to stabilize everything Marvel, Star Wars, and Disney in general to really get the ball rolling here, which by the way, I doubt that they will for this year and next, because of everything that's actually ongoing, with all those franchises that keep on failing one after the other. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, we know that Bob Iger is extremely serious about what's going on with Snow White right now, because they finally realized that this is going to be one of the biggest box office failures of all time. And it's not just because of Rachel Zegler getting cast as Snow White, it's really mostly having to do with the fact of what they did with the Seven Dwarfs, and how it was promised initially by Bob Iger that this movie was going to be a beat-for-beat take on the original 37 flick. That is no longer a thing. This is entirely a reimagining of Snow White, essentially. So, looking to the next big development here around Bob Iger, one major piece of this has a lot to do with a plan that he actually proposed to the Disney board, and how this is creating quite a stir for what is about to happen to Snow White and exactly what's happening with the Disney board and Bob Iger. Let's get into all of this. Now, we already know that the Marvels is facing a big potential delay, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. However, with Bob Iger and the Disney board going through many issues for Snow White, one significant development surrounding the film has much to do with Bob Iger now surprisingly aiming to scrap the entire movie, and it's a big suggestion and proposal that he made to the Disney board. In a recent emergency meeting surrounding their streaming models and other business models, the subject of upcoming releases was a major concern to Bob Iger, including Snow White 24. Iger pushed for a major proposal to cancel the film entirely. At first, Iger's proposal was to cancel the film from ever hitting theaters, and to have it only released directly on Disney Plus instead, in order to reduce spending on marketing and to gain subscribers for people to join to watch Snow White. Now, this then progressed to Iger suggesting to cancel the film entirely, and to keep it on an extended delay to figure out how to handle and tame the backlash by fixing the film. The Disney board members, many of which did not agree with Iger on this proposal, and suggested that it would only make them lose hundreds of millions of dollars regardless by following this strategy, and that it would be counter-effective. Some board members, surprisingly, however, agreed with Bob Iger on this push to cancel the film entirely, since the strikes are getting in the way of planned reshoots now that August is here, and with the strikes likely to stay until November, it would make reshoots nearly impossible if they want to keep that March release date. Even delaying until June would not help. So guys, let me stop here quick for 1 second about this. Now, before I get to the next major piece about this, what's really interesting is that Bob Iger is getting so panicky to the point where he is pushing the Disney board to cancel this movie altogether. And I think that maybe he individually came to the realization that if WB can do it with Batgirl, they can do it too. Because in the end, it's going to save, their image to a degree. Yes, I say to a degree. It's going to save their image partially about what's up and coming, and what's really going on with everything related to Disney and the parks, the merchandise, the movies and the shows, whatever have you, right? So Bob Iger most likely realizes that, and given that there are some, and I say some board members that do agree with Bob Iger's approach, it's not the majority. The majority are completely against this plan by Bob Iger to cancel Snow White out, and to get rid of it forever, and to never let it see the light of day. Now, the problem with this is that I think that this is the right call, except, you have the board, which, by the way, are terrible, terrible people over at Disney. They don't know what in the world that they are doing. In fact, they are right up there with Bob Iger. I mean, they're just as guilty as Iger. They have no clue what their audience and customers want to see and how to present it, And everything, else, I believe, is all intentional. Everything ranging from what they're doing with the movies, what kind of messages that they are sending, that's all intentional. We know that. But when you get down to the root of it all, down to the art of these projects, down to the overall creative visions, they don't know how to tell the directors, the writers, the producers on exactly, where or what kind of aim they want to go towards. So that's the problem with this scenario, is that it's a really big mess, so to speak, because now you have Bob Iger really wanting to cancel this movie, and I think that this is also why the trailer got shifted from July of last month all the way until September, and it wasn't just because of firing the 2 trailer companies handling it. They really wanted to essentially restructure and really re-edit that trailer, and to reduce the amount of screen time in that footage showcasing the 7 dwarfs. That's why it did not release last month, and why you're only going to see a teaser and or trailer by this September. Alright, right around September 9th to the 10th, right around that time frame you're going to see it. And so, I think that's going to create more backlash regardless. I think once the trailer drops, Disney's gonna realize that, yeah, I think that we better go by Bob Iger's proposal there that he suggested in August by the time September rolls in. So I think that once that footage drops, you're gonna have more board members raising their hand and saying, alright, I'm all in, let's cancel this thing and keep it indefinitely delayed and just call it a day. Let's just do that. I think that you're gonna see that. I think that you're gonna see more board members signing on. Will that essentially lead to this movie actually getting canceled is another question, and that's a whole nother thing. Who knows? Now, to the next thing. Right now, Iger is reportedly very panicky about the release of Snow White, since they didn't see a backlash this big ever coming, and that by releasing this film, it could very well destroy their momentum for other live-action remakes in the works. Yes, things like Sword in the Stone, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Lilo and Stitch, Sleeping Beauty, plus more. Both Iger and the board members that agree with him are fighting with other board members to convince the majority to go through with this plan, but the majority wants to keep this movie going and to have it released in theaters. Because, it's Disney after all. I mean, they want to really force these agendas down the public's throat, and that's just the end of the story there. The problem that I have with this is that I'm not a rooter for Bob Iger, I'm not a supporter of Bob Iger, but this would probably be the best call that he would ever have made in the past 3 years. I think that if you actually owned one of your mistakes at minimum, it could give you a little bit of a sliver of credibility, but even that, I would still be a very big skeptic of Bob Iger, because I really can't respect him for what he has done to everything revolving around the Star Wars sequels, to what they did with Indiana Jones 5, to where they are taking or have taken the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how Kathleen Kennedy, yes, had a hand in that, because she's great friends with Kevin Feige, by the way. I mean, they're like best buddies. And she really convinced Kevin and told him, yeah, do this, and that for these movies, up the diversity, up the agendas, that they have in play. And so, that's all on Bob Iger. That's all him. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Feel me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time. Night to